We have another YouTuber on the podcast. And this is one I'm really excited about because I never ever get tired of talking about surfboards, although I actually don't know too much about it. So I'm looking forward to learn more. You can find this guy on Instagram and YouTube under The Surfboard Guide. Craig Winden, welcome on the show.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks so much for having me today.
I really appreciate you making your way up to Mona Vale into our kind of new studio that doesn't look very good yet, but it's getting there.
It has a purpose and it does it well, so it's good. It's nice to be here, and I'm excited to talk about surfboards.
Me too. So I've got to ask first, what two surfboards are you mainly surfing right now?
Well, that's actually a funny question because it was something I looked at, and I guess to answer that, I need to explain. I guess I try and do a board review. I'm trying to do one every fortnight. I think it's good to be consistent. There's a lot of good boards out there. I want to make sure I'm capturing something for everyone. But then saying that, like, I get on something for review and I'm frothing on it and I'm like, okay, reviewed it, mate. That one's going on ice. I love that. And then 6 or 8 months later, I haven't ridden it, but I've put 3 dings in it because I'm moving it around in my garage and stuff. So I guess that kind of responds in 2 questions. Boards I'm looking at right now that I'm absolutely frothing on. We just put a review out the other week of the Channel Islands Fishbeard, which was kind of an iteration of the Neckbeard 2, which I would have to say is one of my favorite boards of all time.
Wow.
It is so surfable by so many people that I absolutely love it. So yeah, that's kind of, I have all these review boards and they come and they go because I just end up not riding them. There's no point having 35 boards. You're just dinging them, trying to move them. Like I don't have a warehouse or something. So I'd have to say Neckbeard 2 is one of like my all-time favorite boards. It is just so easy to surf. So many people are put off by, if you haven't seen,
cut off tail, right?
Yeah, it's got like a 9 or 10 inch wide square tail. Like it's wide, and people look at it like, I was trying to get a friend of mine, Justin, to have one the other day. Like, I'm like, mate, ride this board. He goes, mate, I'll take your word for it, but it is ugly and I'm never going to ride it. And I'm like, oh, you're doing yourself a disservice. So one of my favorite surfboards, I always have one in my quiver pretty much. It will get ridden. Like I'll go on a trip where I'm not filming, not reviewing a board, and I might be surfing kind of waves in the 2 to 4 foot range. Neckbeard 2.
Okay.
But from that, the Fishbeard's been epic. Something we reviewed recently. Another board that I kind of always want to have, and it blew my mind. And I think you had one or have one, and I wasn't a detractor to the board, but for like 9-10 years, I thought it wasn't me, and it blew me away. It was the Hayden Shapes Hypto Crypto. I saw so many people ride that board so GSI make it, and they put this little safety sticker, and I see people that have had it for like a year and it still has a safety sticker. Like they're that new to surfing, they don't realize they need to take that. So I always kind of put that board with that level of surfability in that. I spoke with Hayden and the team at Hayden Shapes, and we're like, let's do a Hypto review. Like there isn't actually a good Hypto review. It's one of the most famous and popular and best-selling boards in the world, clearly for a reason that I turned a blind eye to for too long. Hayden was like, don't do stock, you're short and wide. Let's do one short and wide. It would have to be one of the best boards I've ever ridden. Like,
wow.
Well, you and I live on northern beaches. We're surfing 1 to 4 foot, generally not pumping surf most of the time. Yeah. So similar to the Neckbeard 2, for someone surfing average, city beach break kind of waves, the thing is amazing. I had it out in pumping waves too. I'm going to say up at around 5-6 foot, it really starts to find its, where it's capable to, but I'm generally not surfing waves above 5 or 6 foot that often. Like unless I'm on a trip in Hawaii or something like that, or I'm getting away, so if I'm living in Sydney and I just have one board, that's another thing. Another board that I absolutely froth on is, and people wig out about it, is about 2 years ago I was in the States. I was in a place called Mill Valley in San Francisco. I was in a shop called Proof Lab, this really cool surf shop there. And I came across a brand, I'd kind of heard of them, a guy called Matt Parker. He does a brand called Album Surfboards. And it was it was my first look, like under the arm look and, feel of an asymmetrical surfboard. And I was like, wow, what the hell? And like, for a long time, I haven't paid a lot for surfboards, or I've been borrowing them or given them whatever it is. And it was on the wall, and I think it was like $1,050 US to buy, which with an Australian conversion, that's about $4.5 million.
Yeah, right now.
But the guys there were really good. I had like a new board I hadn't ridden. They let me trade it. And anyway, Cody and the guys at Proof Lab were amazing. And I got that board and I was just blown away. We were in San Francisco. I didn't surf. we drove down like Big Sur down the coast, and we had 2 nights in Malibu, and I had 2 days at Malibu, which is like a classic point break, which is generally like knee high, but for 2 days it was kind of 4 to 6 foot, and I surfed this 5-6 Album Fascination, and I felt like it was, I competed as a kid.
Twinny or a thruster?
No, so it's an ASIM. So under your toe is a twin fin, and under your heel is a quad.
Yep.
So, and people always go, oh, can you surf it can you go left on it? I'm like, you can go left or right. No, but they are shaped for a goofy footer or a natural footer.
Yeah.
So twin fins don't have drag. You don't have the same drag as a thruster or a quad. You don't have those rear trailing fins that drag when you pivot off the front fin. So on your toe bottom turning, the twin gives you this amazing, turn. And then I don't know if you've ever done like a nice big cutback or wrap on a quad, but you feel like you're almost on train tracks and you can just do no wrong. So
I'll say yes to that question.
Yeah, but it gave you the best of both, and it was the ultimate sensation. And then from that, I got in touch with Matt Parker, and he did me another model. So I don't have that fascination anymore because off Matt, I got this other one they had called the Disasim, which is a similar ASIM, but more of rather than a fish like the other one, it's more of a shortboard. Dane Reynolds rode it in the Stab Electric Acid surfboard test a few years ago in Mexico. And that is something like the other day I snapped the fin box out, I got it repaired. Like I will never get rid of that board. I'll never get one the same. I get on it and I'm like, oh wow. Cause I'm working a lot. I've got young kids. I tore my knee last year. I'm going through periods where I might not surf for a little while, but I get on that board and I actually feel like I can surf well. So I really love that board. So yeah, I'd probably say those 3 boards.
Yeah.
I've had some over time. Like I talk about the Chili Spawn being one of my favorite boards I've ever had. Lots of models that CI have put out. Like at time, I really like the black and white, but I don't know. They're all kind of 3 weird boards. That Neckbeard's got that big bum.
Yeah.
The Hypto, is kind of, it's got a little beak and a round nose and a pinny tail, then an ASIM. So they're not normal boards, but I'm not surfing. Well, I guess I am. I'm surfing normal surf most of the time. I'm surfing, knee to head high, mainly on shore. I'm not, and with a young family, and I'm not waiting for tides and that. I'm surfing when I'm given my window, pretty much.
Yeah,
so I want to make sure I'm having fun. And there's 3 boards I kind of. So I know you asked for 2, and I gave you 3, and
that's perfect.
Went a bit about it, but yeah.
So all those boards, are they PU boards? Except for the Hypto Crypto, maybe, or
no, the Hypto is Future Flex.
Future Flex, yeah.
But yeah. The album's PU, a bit heavily glassed because it's actually got like this amazing, you can see it, we did a review maybe early last year, and there's shots on Instagram of it, but it's got this like crazy tint on it. Tints generally add a bit of weight to it, but it doesn't feel heavy when I surf it. But under the arm feels a bit heavier than maybe a normal performance PU shortboard. Yeah. And Neckbeard 2 I have at the moment is PU.
Yep.
I try and, I don't know, I guess there's a lot to surfboards, which I feel like I understand, and I'm also learning about. So I don't mind PU surfboards, but I also try and mess around with blanks a little bit. So if I get a Channel Islands, they do a lot of blanks through different manufacturers, but one of the companies is called Core Blanks, and Core have different colors. So along the stringer, there'll be like a glue, and you'll have a blank called a Core Red. So it'll have a red glue, and along the stringer and the foam, you'll see this light red line, and they're nice light blanks. They feel really lively underfoot. They generally will pressure under your feet a little more. Not like a huge amount, but they're softer, but they feel amazing.
So you mean they get more easily pressured in?
Yeah. Not not amazing, but you'll know like after your first 2 surfs, you'll have like a foot compression. It won't normally get worse, but you'll get them much quicker than you will get them with a normal PU. But saying that, I just ordered a Neckbeard 2 in Spine Tech. I'm gonna go down to Urban Surf and get some stuff in the pool, and the word is epoxy's the go. So I haven't actually had a Neckbeard 2 in Spine Tech. I've had other boards. I've had a Sampler and Rocket Wide and stuff in Spine Tech. So yeah, that'll be an EPS board. So
my question leading into that is then, with the epoxies and Future Flexes and all these Spine Techs and all these new technologies that we're getting, what's your take on it? Because almost every time I ask people about their favorite boards, they're generally PU boards. So is the technology just something that the board brands are developing for us to pay more for the boards? Because epoxy boards generally, $1,000 at least.
Yeah.
Or where do you sit on that, PU versus epoxy?
I don't know. I guess I'm a bit of a traditionalist. So I'm in my late 30s. I've got a few more years with 3 at the front before it's a 4. And I've been surfing, so for 25 years or whatever. I grew up on PU shortboards. I pride myself in the ability, because I guess people that came surfing the last 10 or so years were introduced to, your Hypto Cryptos and boards that actually make surfing much easier. But a lot of those people actually can't surf well on a shortboard. Like there's actually an art to it. And with that was PU shortboards. That's all we had. You know what I mean? You might put like a sheet of 4 ounce rather than 2 4s or something. And like I said, you can mess around with blanks. So I still find PU shortboards really fine, but actually I really enjoy epoxies as well. They have a certain liveliness to them. And like I said, living in Sydney, we're generally surfing pretty average waves. And similar to myself, even if I wasn't doing the board reviewing, you might be in a similar sort of situation. I don't know. And people around my age, I'm not going to get any better at surfing. I've really I've hit a slump. But I guess what I want when I go for a surf is I want a sensation, or I want a feeling. You know what I mean? I want to do a turn where nothing grabbed, nothing dragged. I felt like I surfed the best of my ability. Or, people talk, oh, that felt amazing through the water, or the release or the liveliness. And more often than not, I guess those epoxies and those alternate technologies are giving you that different feeling or sensation. And obviously not everyone can splurt out and have 15 board quivers and stuff like that. If you can, you should. It's really confusing what to ride. But the epoxies do. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I saw 2 things last week, and one came off the back of the other. Stab put out an interview with Dane Reynolds. Do you see that?
I saw that.
The Dane interview, yeah.
I was mad.
And he was saying, if Dane was here, I'd probably run up and kiss him. I'm a huge fan. My wife makes jokes about it all the time. But everything he does is great. He's probably not surfing where he used to, but he makes me want to buy a surfboard more than anyone in the whole world. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, but his interview is saying that I think, he said surfboard design and technology has peaked.
Well, it's plateaued.
Yeah, right? Like we are where we are, and that's kind of it. And
are we going to get better technology?
I don't know. Did they say that 10 years ago? Or 15 years ago?
I guess
I don't know.
They didn't have so many different versions of the epoxies, like the Spintex and the Hi-Fis and all that stuff. But, now when we do have all these new technologies, kind of to my point, people still love the PU boards.
Yeah.
And I do as well, right? Like, especially if the surf's a little bit better.
Well, then I saw in response to that, Dan Mann, who's a shaper in the US, does a lot of stuff through like Firewire and Slater Designs. And I just got a board off him last week, actually, to take down to Urban Surf as well.
Oh, man.
But he just kind of said, he's not like trying to be oppositional at all, but he saw that and he goes, oh, there's no way, we haven't even touched the surface. And I wrote to him, then I inboxed him and I chatted with him because he's a legend. But I was like, do you mean board design or do you mean board technology?
Yeah.
Because I actually wonder where we're going with board design.
Yeah.
But I feel like technology, like, you don't know what you don't know. Like,
That's
I'm
true.
sure when they put out like the 1990 Holden VN Commodore, they thought it was like the best car that will ever be built. And now, you can buy one for like $35. Like,
That's so true.
I don't know. Like,
but I think to Dane's point, though, I don't think he said it was over, but it has plateaued. And what I compared it to is same with our mobile phones now. It's, the technology was rising so much faster 5-10 years ago, 5 years ago. But now, every time there's a new phone, it's not really doing anything new for us. It's slightly better camera, slightly faster, etc. But the increments of where it's improving is smaller and smaller. And I think that's what Dane meant with the surfboards. Like, we see small improvements, but they're very, very small.
But it's funny, like there is stuff out there. People are doing things, but so I go back onto that album surfboard I talk. I put a review out last year. It went to a small, group, people that follow us, probably has a couple thousand views, nothing much. Comments were generally positive. Some of them were like, oh, can you go left on that board?
Yeah.
They're shaped for a goofy footer or a natural footer. So you can go left and right, but, a goofy footer couldn't ride the natural footer version. But then I know Stab about a month ago with Michael Ciaramella, who's the world's smallest surfboard reviewer, put out a thing. That's a joke I have with him, but it's all right. I'm the world's largest and he's the world's smallest. Actually, no, I found out there's larger ones, but it's all good. But they did a review of the album Disasim, put it out to their...
The pink one, yeah?
It's pink and black or something like that.
I saw that was cool.
And the comments are ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Oh, people can't handle it. I would recommend that everyone who is interested in having, that sensation under your feet and turning and surfing well, tries an ASIM surfboard.
I'd love to try one. It's fun.
Mate, I would recommend anyone to try one. but the comments on that are ridiculous. And I'm like, well, and
Because they're hating on it, you mean?
Yeah, they're hating on it. Hating on it.
Surprise!
So
it's YouTube comments.
but Instagram, everything, and but ASIM design isn't new. I think the guy's name is Schroff. I don't know if it's Peter Schroff. He's from Venice or something. Anyway, he started. I think someone might pull me up if I'm wrong. I think he started the ASIM stuff quite some time ago, and it's never really got its feet and got running. Even though I think it's a design concept that really works, but no one on tour is riding it. The general public doesn't have access to it, and when put in front of a larger forum than what I have, it was just torn to shreds. So I don't know if there is board design, if there's evolution there. Is this, are surfers ready for it?
Yeah,
because surfers don't like different things.
To point to what you just said, though, I think that's a great point. Because on the tour, do you think there's general pressure to surf a normal looking board like a thruster? Because we don't really see even a neckbird, right? You say that's one of your favorite boards. We never see any shapes like that on tour. Do you think that's got something to do with the judging, or?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I remember years ago, I think it was like 2008 or something, Dane Reynolds went out a heat in France and he rode the MTF. I don't know if you know that board. It's an old Rob Machado model. It's got it's a fish looking board.
Wide,
has a full, at the front, it has a beak. I think it has a beak, holds a lot of volume, full rail. And then it comes in this crazy thin tail and you ride like a 2+1 setup in it. I think he rode that in a heat, and people are really critical of it. And I think that's why they designed soon after that the dumpster diver.
Yeah.
Because it still has that, and which is like an iteration of the neckbeard. It's that famed like lineage and family of boards.
Super fun board.
Yeah, and pointy performance nose, doesn't look too strange. But Dane was riding a 5.8 at Trestles when everyone else was riding like a 6.0, or he should have been riding his normal 6.1 or 6.2. I think he came second in the comp to Fanning or whatever. But yeah, I reckon there's a real thing that you have to ride a performance shortboard. It has to be white, and he sprays it, and don't tint it, like because someone that's a really good, and maybe he got bored, I don't know, but I don't know if you follow Josh Kerr much. Josh Kerr came off tour about 2 years ago. Yeah. He got on album boards. He started doing stuff with Matt Parker because he lives near him in California. Josh is only riding twin fins, ASIMs, and Josh Kerr is now doing some of the, I don't know, I wouldn't say he's better, but he's surfing to me now. He's having fun and he makes me want to surf, where, Josh Kerr's always been one of the top surfers in the world. But when I watched him, he didn't make me want to do what he was doing. But right now I'm watching him going, wow, what is he riding? Where, no offense to Rusty or whatever, they made the shortboards that he needed and rode at the time. But when he was riding his, 5'10" Rusty shortboard, I didn't want to go out and buy it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, Matt Parker, what was Josh riding in that clip? Like, he had the biggest grin on his face. Like, so yeah, I don't think he's going to start competing on those boards, and I don't think it'd be disallowed. I don't know. I'm not a world tour surfer, and I have very little to do with competitive surfing. But I don't know. Yeah. I think it's don't know.
It's just a standard, I guess, they try and they conform a little bit to in the WSL.
Yeah.
Change topics a little bit here. I definitely have to, since you run the surfboard guide, I most certainly will have to ask you, and a lot of my friends that are surfing said this has got to be the main topic of the podcast, what to look for when buying a surfboard these days. Because, I'm 70 kilos, some of my friends are a little bit bigger, and a board, it costs us about $1,000. We don't get free boards. So deciding what to buy can be really, really difficult. What are your advice? What's your advice for purchasing a new board? Because nothing is more exciting than that.
No, and I think with that, the concept, and it's like I try and do what we do by reviewing boards. I try and make it realistic. Like when we're putting clips together, I'm not trying to get the best surfing. Like when I spoke to my friend Noel Salas, who does the Surf and Show in California.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He'll film. Yeah, his stuff's amazing. He wants to make it a full-time job. He puts a lot of effort into it. Him and his brother will film 5 mornings a week for 2 weeks. So they'll film for 3 hours a day. They'll film...
Full-time job.
They'll film... they do 7 till 10 every day. They're filming at Trestles. They'll do 30 hours of filming to get the best footage for their review. I'm filming 1 or 2 or maybe 3 surfs because I actually am trying to do something that's for you or I that doesn't have any kind of false expectations about what to expect when you go surf 2 foot onshore Monavale, being, someone of, average kind of surfability. So that leads me to, I guess when someone's buying a board, I think people need to be like honest about where their surfability sits. I think people have to have a really good concept of where that is.
Yeah.
And I think that's the major problem. And also the waves they're going to surf. They're the two kind of, considering factors. People get really caught up on like, I was having a chat with someone and they're like, oh, there's no way I could ride that. I only ride like 36.35 liters. And like I looked at shots on their Instagram, like, oh mate, I could throw 31 or 48 under you. I don't think you noticed the difference. Sorry to that guy. But do you know what I mean? People are really focused on things like literage and that now, which is really important. But I think people have to have a real, a solid understanding of what is their surfability and where are they going to be surfing. And then, people constantly write stuff to me, go, there's so many boards out there. And it was even yesterday, I'm like, oh, mate, you need to bunch them up. Like, okay, this is a small wave, like a step down short board. This is a short board. This sits in like a groveler category, and then work out what boards sit in those categories. And
from each different brand, right?
Yeah. Or whatever they're interested in. Like, don't go and like, go, oh, I don't know if I should get the Seaside by Firewire or the Happy by CI. I'm like, mate, they couldn't be more different. Like one's a 5'4" quad fish and one's a 6'1" short board.
They're
like
not
a high performance.
Category,
yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a great point.
There's regularly access to things like demos and stuff like that now. I don't know.
Can you go to board stores now and just try demo boards? I'm not sure where that's.
Some people do have demo fleets, and it seems to come and go. Like I remember CI here at Onboard Store used to run demos. Like they had, I think it became really difficult. If a surfboard doesn't belong to the person, sometimes maybe they don't respect it as much as if it was theirs. Yeah. But there's other things like a Waco and stuff like that where you can get on boards and, you pay the rental fee, but you can try it before you buy it. But obviously I completely respect that's not available to everyone. But yeah, I think if it comes down, if people have an understanding of boards they've liked, volumes that have worked for them, the category of surfboard they're trying to buy. Am I trying to buy a fish or am I trying to buy a high performance shortboard? And then, where are they surfing it, in what kind of waves and what their ability is?
Okay, so let's make the question a bit more specific then. Intermediate level surfer surfing in Sydney. Let's say on the northern beaches. What category or boards would you recommend?
What do you mean by intermediate?
Okay, so...
Because I find, just to answer,
I understand.
I find 5% of people are beginners, 5% are very advanced.
Yeah, it's a big
and
category.
90%...
Okay, so I'd say intermediate is someone who can take off easily on a wave. They know where to sit, they know how to paddle into the wave, and they can cut across the first section of the wave and get a turn in.
Yeah.
So they can, but not getting barrel, definitely not getting airs. That's I'd say would be more advanced. But they can kind of surf the face of a green wave frequently.
Yep. And that's probably aligns with a couple of those boards I spoke about earlier. Your Hypto Cryptos, your Neckbeard 2s, your Rocket Wides, the things that still have some performance ability, but they're still very forgiving surfboards. So by saying that, they still have a lot of volume, they paddle well, they're easy to get into waves, they're quite forgiving, but they might still also have a bit of rocker. So, you don't want to have a board for every surf that you go on, but, if you're surfing it in 2-foot onshore junk, it's going to work. But hey, Monoval's pumping it, it's 4 to 5 foot and it's sucky and hollow. You also want a board that's not going to struggle too much. So your boards that sit in that kind of groveler through to kind of step down shortboard. If I just had a performance shortboard and one board around here, I think I'd struggle for the majority of surfs. But then I also don't want something like a really fishy, small sort of shape, and it'll work a bit of the time. But then when those days are pumping, I'm probably going to struggle a bit on it. So there's things that sit through that middle. Yeah, that small-ish kind of groveler, Neckbeard 2, Hypto, through to that kind of step down his shortboard, volume 2.
Volume 2,
yeah,
one of the last ones.
We got a volume 2.
Yeah,
off the back of the Spawn, which was more of a performance shortboard. Volume 2's got, a fuller foil, fuller rails, much more forgiving. Mitch Colborne, who the board's kind of designed off, has grown over time, and so has the board that he's riding, which is good for me.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. So kind of in Sydney, you realistically need 2 boards to cover most of the conditions as that level of surfer.
Yeah. I think actually because when I started this, I actually had a bit of a not a project plan, but a bit of a brief that I went out to different board companies with to kind of come on board with it, to have access to boards, to make sure I wasn't paying full retail and then doing all the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And my concept was about, someone who, average surfer, 1 or 2 boards, lives at Bondi, works all week, has kids. I don't have a window to wait for when the tide drops or the wind changes. I go out when I go out, and I want to make sure I'm having fun. So then all I wanted to do was present people with boards that would make sure they're having fun in the conditions they surf. But also, like, if you're an intermediate surfer, and you've got that board for home, but you've got a trip planned to Bali, those high performance shortboards aren't out of reach for you. So you might want some advice about how you might order it. You might want to get a little bit thicker or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go into Uluwatu for 2 weeks. It's pretty high performance waves. And if you've got the ability to get out, stay out of people's way, catch waves, have fun, your hip toe would be good out there to like 4 foot. Yeah. But then you actually want to get on a shortboard, and it will progress your surfing. So there's boards out there, those higher performance shortboards aren't out of reach for that lower intermediate group.
So would that be something like a Channel Island Happy, for instance, or?
Yeah, maybe that might be a bit, not too far out, but you got stuff like, through Channel Islands, you got like the OG Flyer. Yeah. Black and White's a fairly forgiving, it's a shortboard. Sits a little lesser in the performance than the Happy and stuff like that. Yeah. I did a board last year we looked at by Mayhem by Lost called the Sabotage. It's a bit of a travel board, a fuller front end, kind of a semi step up. They say it's for all conditions. I really struggle with it under 3 foot, but the front end of it was quite forgiving and would work for an intermediate surfer. It's actually, I get lots and lots of direct messages through my thing. I actually wish people would write publicly because it would help more people, but it's cool. I'm still always happy to connect with people, but it's actually a board I recommend. I don't do much stuff with Lost anymore, but it's actually a board I recommend to a lot of people because I actually think it is quite a, so people are like, intimate, like exactly like you spoke about, can go across left, right, do a cutback, get a bit of shade if a barrel falls over me. But and I'm actually, the Sabotage be good, like for waves over 3 foot. Yeah. It's got like, thruster, quad setup, multiple fin setups. It's actually a good travel board for waves over kind of 3 foot.
I haven't seen that board on the beaches lately.
We don't really get waves for it. I must say I struggled with it here until it got about 3 or 4 foot. But when I had like a 4 foot day, I was like, wow, this thing lights up.
Yeah, I see the driver a bit more. Or what's
That's
called
more
Uber
of a short
driver?
board. Yeah, driver. Yeah. There's a few. There's like the sub driver. I don't know.
Driver, I think, is a bit wider.
Matt Biola seems to put a new model out every Tuesday. I saw one yesterday called the Party Crusher. I was like, oh, it must be Tuesday. Oh. They regularly have, a lot of models coming out. So, yeah.
What? I have 2 questions there. Which one to ask first? Okay, let's do this. This is probably a big question. Volume versus length. Can you explain that a little bit?
I'm the world's worst volume guide.
You don't care about the volume. Oh, yeah, sorry, not care about.
So if I use a volume calculator, so I float between 90, 95 kilos, so around 92 kilos and 5'10" and a half. And even if I go on like CI, I think Lost, I think even Hayden has one on their website, like a volume calculator. So if I put 5'10" and a half, and I think it has like beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. If I put in 5'10" and a half, 92 kilos, and even if I put myself as expert, it says I should ride like 42.44 liters or something like that. I currently ride around 29 and a half for a short board, 20 and a half, 30 and a bit, depending on the board, between 5'10" and 6 foot. 5'11", ideally a short board for me is 5'11", 30 liters now. Depends where the volume is. I don't get too fixated on volume. The under the arm test is the best thing you can do.
And do you mean you prefer the volume to be front or more centered, or?
Oh, I don't know. It's a feeling. You put
when you put it on the arm, you can't.
Nothing beats putting a board under your arm.
I don't know. That is a legit test.
I feel sorry for people that don't have access to good surf shops locally and are buying product online. And hopefully reviews like ours can kind of help them find the right product. But I also don't want people to compare their volume considerations to mine, because I'm regularly told that mine are ridiculous. But, I've ridden larger volume boards. They feel horrible. I paddle into my waves. That's great. But when I'm up and I try and do a turn, I feel like I'm riding like a mini Mal. So, and, I also don't want to go and start riding like 35 liters. I'd rather actually lose a couple of kilos and be lighter on my feet. But yeah, anyway, that's another battle. But,
so what do you recommend then for someone who's kind of your size, and what should they be looking for?
I think people should be just considering what's worked for them. Do you know what I mean? And looking, I always try so when we review, I don't say you should ride 34 liters. I say that if you're riding, whatever I try and base things off this, because I think the shortboard is where it all comes back to. Like, that is the kind of original board. And I think for most people in surf, they understand that. So I always try and say, look, if you're looking at this board, maybe add 1 or 2 liters to your shortboard volume. Yep. So I do that. So I said a shortboard is 30 liters, and I was chatting. I just got some boards that are coming from the US next week, and I was chatting with Blake, who does Panda surfboards.
Yep.
And yeah, so he's got me a thing called a rocket fish coming, and he's like, well, what do you want? I go, well, look, my shortboards are 30 litres. He goes, cool, we'll do this 32. And I'm like, perfect. Because he did a fish for me last year that was 33 and a bit, and it felt too bulky. Super good cruiser, but where I felt like I had the ability to jam it, it was too bulky. So,
so it sounds like more like a trial and error, right?
No, I don't think it should be.
Okay.
But it might be if someone hasn't had.
Well, not everyone surfs
before.
as many boards as you surf.
No, but I don't think you need to. I think you need to find, I guess, like your starting point. Yeah. You have to have a reference point. I can't help someone if they don't have a reference point. Like I couldn't have someone. Well, I guess I could. You'd put them on the most forgiving. If someone's learning to surf, they've never bought a board, you just go to the safest point, which is this is going to float you. This is going to get you onto waves. You have to work out something from somewhere. But you know, if someone comes to me and goes, well, I really like my 31.5 litre Lost Driver. What should I do with this CI pod mod? I'd be like, oh, go 32 and a half. Oh, you 6'1", go 32 and a half, like add a litre and a half. But you need a reference point, I feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good way to look at it. And I think that's what I've been thinking about more lately as well is because I'm probably a lower grade intermediate surfer and I've been surfing like 29 litres, but trying to kind of get that next step up, especially because I got a few surf trips this year. And I've been thinking, I've been thinking like, well, I should try like 27 and 28 litres, more kind of performance-y boards because I will be surfing better waves, hopefully. And yeah, I've been referencing back to
I don't get that.
For me?
Yeah, I don't understand. People say that. What volume's your volume 2?
27, just under 28.
Okay, that feels all right.
Yeah.
No, I've heard people talk about pulling volume out of good wave boards because they're going on trips. I'm like, do you really want to miss out on waves? Like, do you want to go, oh, damn, I missed that wave. Like, it didn't paddle that well. I don't know. I understand that you don't want like full foil, like really thick, bulky boards, but I wouldn't, you know, if my shortboards are 30 litres that are performance shortboards are right at home on good waves, I wouldn't go any lesser than that because I'm going to go surf HTs or something like that.
But yeah, I love it. This is awesome. I'd love to learn more stuff about this. So I guess my reference board, like you said, is Hayden Shape's Holy Grail in PE. So it's a mix between PU and epoxy. It's got an epoxy construction.
Yeah.
And that's 29.7 litres. And what I do find with that board, sometimes when the waves get a little bit better and there's more push and speed in it, is that it's really buoyant, like it sits quite high in the water. And that's why I was thinking, okay, I've got to
29.7 litres.
Yeah, it's almost 30 litres.
So that's I rode that, I'm 25 kilos heavier than you and I rode the same size board. I rode it in Future Flex.
You're definitely a better surfer than me.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand. And I guess that's because you're a pretty fit guy, you know what I mean? I think, and you talked about
leaner, yeah.
Yeah, I think you also, like I talked about me not getting any better, but you might, you know, you kind of came on to surfing a bit late. You might be getting better, you know what I mean? So your board volumes can drop as your surfing progresses. Yeah. I'm never getting any better. Like my best days are behind me. But yeah, they weren't that great either. But yeah, that would be a lot of volume, and you know what I mean? That might be good for a point, but it's like, I don't know, if people are expecting they're going to get one board and it's going to last forever and they're never going to have to change volumes, they're like tripping. It's a moving feast.
That's part of the fun, right, with surfing is trying different boards, I think.
And waves are like, and I go back to that Dane interview on Stab, like waves are so variable. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's horrible, and waves are a commodity. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's only good once, I don't know.
Well, the wave pools might change that up a little bit, but
yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. But like I went to WA last week for a week and I got like a good surf or two, but the week before was like on fire. Like it was, it's probably not a very good term considering the bushfires we've had, but it was pumping. Yeah, like it was absolutely pumping for, you know, but I was a few days out and missed that swell. But yeah, like, you know, and that for them was quite regular. They get good waves fairly regularly, I think, on the West Coast. Whereas even the one day I surfed a place called Gas, and I'll show you a photo later, it was pumping. But that would have been like the best day at Curl Curl for like the whole year, maybe two.
Yeah. What board did you surf?
Black and white, Channel Islands Black and White.
Yeah. That's a good board.
I took 3 boards and had 2 surfs. That's a trip with 2 young kids and a wife. But anyway.
Yeah.
No, it was like, and I had an amazing time. I could have surfed more. I didn't. Western Australia is funny because it's not actually that easy. My wife was like, oh, just go for a surf. And we're staying at Smith's Beach in Yallingup, and I wanted to surf Gas again. And it's like a 30 or 40 minute drive to Margaret River, probably like a 20-minute walk out to where you rock off. You surf for an hour or two. I'm like, honey, I'll be gone for like 4 hours. You're really not going to be cool with that. So didn't surf it again. But yeah, I could have or whatever. But I was there with my family. But yeah, like waves are irregularly good. Like I still remember 10th of October 2010, South Curl looked like Kira, and I've never seen it again. Like I remember because I started a new job the next day, so I remember the date. But I remember riding a 6.5 Channel Islands Proton that was actually shaped for Dane Reynolds that I got from the US when I was over there for Coachella the year earlier. And I surfed for about 4.5 or 5 hours. And it was one of two of the best surfs I've had. So that's 10 years ago now.
Yeah. Best day of the decade.
Best day of the decade here. And then I had a day, I think in 2018 at Bendalong. And I surfed for 5 hours. Clearly wasn't there with kids. And it was pumping. And they're the two best surfs in Australia, and especially on the East Coast, that I've had. I've had a few fun days at like reefs like Blackrock and stuff like that, but those 2 days stand out in my memory and my mind as, but yeah, like that's
to your point, right? You need to be honest with what conditions you're generally surfing.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to, enjoy surfing in Sydney, you got to get out there even on very average days, right? Like
it's I don't know. I see people so bitter about the surf sometimes, and I'm like,
I've
even got friends my age, and they don't have. I have a job that keeps me really busy. 5 days a week, a lot of hours a day, and evenings. I got a young family, and then I do the surfboard review stuff. And if I get a chance to surf, I want to surf, and I make sure I have a board. I have foamies. I have a 9.6 longboard.
Yeah.
Blake from Panda's doing me this 6.7 mid-length twinser. Like I want to be, if I have a window to go surfing, and not everyone's in the same position, I want to have fun.
Yeah.
If it's 1 foot dribble, I want to Ben Gravy surf a little runner off the pool.
Yeah.
I just want to be in the water because having
it's
busy
blessing
life
to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it's not that often, but if I get a chance to go for an early or a late or surf at lunch or whatever, I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be out there battling with my 6'1", 18 and 8, 2 and an 8, 24.3 litre shortboard.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
So to wrap up the topic around the boards, I know there's another thing that you're quite passionate about and that I have no idea about, and that's fins and different fins and how that can change your board. Can you explain a little bit what do you think is most, ignored around the fins? Because I probably just buy standard FSE, Performer, medium-sized fins, right, for all my boards. What should I be looking for? Or what can kind of help you with getting different fins on different boards?
I think, luckily, a lot of the fin websites and that have a lot of information about what the fin, so I really like fins with rake.
Explain rake.
Yeah, okay, cool. So generally you'll have, I don't want to get this wrong, but at one end of the scale you have fins with rake, so they're much more laid back. So rake is a fin that kind of rakes back. And then on the other end you have fins that are quite upright. And then you'll have stuff that's kind of blended through the middle. Yeah. So a fin I always come back to and is a really good, point, a reference point for me with a board is the AM2, which means large, by Futures. So Futures do the Almeric fin. It's a raked fin. I've ridden this fin for the best part of 15 years and I know the fin quite intimately. So generally I'll whack that in a board and I'll get a good feeling of what a board feels like. I feel they work well in small waves. They're good for generating speed. They carve well. And with the AMs, the center fin is slightly smaller. So it gives it a nice release. So for someone who's a pretty average surfer, I can do an off the top turn and I'll kind of get that little drifty feeling that I might not normally get. But then when waves have kind of more push, and you're not generating a lot of your own speed, I like to come more towards an upright kind of fin.
So you wanted the fin to be straighter then?
Yeah, so the fin's going to be straighter. It's going to want to pivot more. You're not needing to generate speed because you're surfing waves 4 foot plus. There's push there. You're not whacking your board, trying to ride it like a jockey to get it through the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I try and ride lots of different fins, and that's just with thrusters. And they all kind of give you a unique sensation. I'll tell you what, I've put fins in boards. So years ago, I did a review on I didn't go too much into it at the time because I don't want to be negative in any reviews. But I think it was a Stacey Wave Slave. And chatting with the guys there, they're like, don't ride the AM2, ride the F8, ride an upright fin. Don't ride the AM2. It'll be horrible. and I rode the F8 by Futures, which is a fin I've liked in other boards and in other Stacey boards. But it felt, I was like, wow, where have they attached the anchors to this board? Like I couldn't work out. Anyway,
Feel like it was dragging, you mean?
Oh, I feel like I could not get it to go. I actually haven't felt anything like that. And I haven't felt so much night and day with a board.
Did
With
you put
fins.
the AM2s back in?
Well, then I went to a John, which is a kind of like a mid between more of a pivot, kind of not quite upright, not raked. It felt better. And then I put AM2s in it, and it was one of the best boards I've ever ridden. And after I went on solid advice with people that I won't name that, do know what they're talking about. But anyway, and they probably loved that and had an opposite experience of me. So, you don't just do what I say, but it is a point of reference for people who are interested in looking at a board or a fins, that this is what worked for me.
Yeah.
How I surf, the waves I surf, and what I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, it went from this board. I was like, I'm going to have to go back to them and say, hey guys, I can't get this board to go forward. And then I'm like, wow, can I get another one? This is the best board I've ever ridden. So, but fins can make such a difference in a board. So, and that's really good. But then I guess with other fins, you've also got like lots of people coming out with now, whether it's for a value add or it's actually just to a perceived value add, is lots of boards have 5 fin setups now.
Yeah.
And whether they're good as a quad or not is another question, but it's a value add for people. I get you're almost getting kind of 2 boards. Do you know what I mean? 2 very different sensations.
Yeah, surf it as a quad or surf it as a thruster.
Yeah, for sure. So that's another thing. So I've generally struggled a bit with quads unless they're in a small wave board or in a large. Like I have like a 7.0 Chili Fader. It has a set of Futures Danny Fuller quads that sit in it permanently. They don't come out of it, and they're amazing. They're flat foiled, small quad set that work good in a gun, pretty much. It's a 7-foot board. I've rode it out like Sunset and Dead Man's and stuff like that, and it goes really good. But quads are a whole nother kettle of fish, and I've always struggled with them as well, because I know like a lot of fin manufacturers put out 5 fin sets, so you get everything. You got this thrust on the quad, but I don't think I've found a quad set in its entirety, except for that one and like the step up that's worked for me. I've actually had to mess around. So I just got a Slater Designs no-brainer to take to Urban Surf. And the
How many boards are you taking down there?
At the moment, 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a little thing with them when they, it'd be good, but I won't talk too much about that. But Firewire, like, cool, can you use the Futures Firewire 5 fin set, but it's a large set, and as a thruster, it's fine. The quad rears are fine, but I need the medium front fins for it to work as a quad set.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot to it, and I'm no expert on it. It's only what I've felt and what I've experienced.
Yeah.
But quads are a whole different thing. Like I said, with the A-seam, you put a quad on your heel through a wrap when you get a bit of push and you go through that full momentum. And not many things in surfing feel better. Like, it actually is a really nice sensation. But other times I've surfed quads and I try and do like a front, like a Rio or something, and it feels really boxy and it doesn't have that release of a thruster. And I'm like, get me off this. Like, so yeah, I don't know. And then, I don't know, it's such an interesting thing. There's a lot of different fins out there. A lot of it, I guess, is just marketing and stuff and new colorways and stuff like that. But, understanding, I guess, what, fins, like upright fins, like kind of neutral fins, and what raked fins do for your surfing. And the fins that sit in them, I think FCS do, they call them like Carver series. They have like series at the fins. And Futures have something really similar. And Futures also have this thing called the ride number, which is a whole nother thing about, how that fin will work for someone. People work out the ride number that they like. But if people are interested in the fins and what they want to get out of it, and again, the waves they're surfing, the surfability, and then understand, how the fin families sit for FCS, the ride number system for Futures, I think they'll get a lot more out and they'll be getting the right fins.
I think FCS2 have kind of 3 main fins that probably they sell the most of, which is the Performer, which I see that one I see a lot, and then the Accelerator and the Carver. I think
so is Carver a fin?
I thought it was, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think it might be, but they all sit under. So I think there's the Performer, the Accelerator, the Carver, and I think there's a 4th one. I really should know this because every time I do a review, I text Richie Lovett and he reminds me what it is. And then everything sits under that. So in the Carver family, you've got the Carver, but then you've got like I think the Julian Wilson fin sits under the Carver family. The Philippe Toledo fin sits under the Carver family. And they sit under that family because they're similar. The Carvers are generally a raked fin, which are good for long, drawn-out calves. Whereas the the more upright fins, you come towards the fannings of waves with push.
The accelerator ones.
Yeah.
Down the line.
Yep. Yeah. You've got push. You're doing more upright turns with power, stuff like that. It's a bit of a Pandora's box. You could really go into it, but it is worth people. There's a lot of information out there on the web through the fin manufacturers, and they're the two largest, obviously, FCS and Futures, and there's a few kind of bespoke ones behind that that are really great. But I think if people put the time and effort to understand it, and they're pretty honest about the waves they're surfing and how they surf, I think there's something out there for everyone, and it's worth, investing. And if fins don't work, there's a really good resale market on fins through Gumtree.
Yeah.
Well, people are keen.
Well, that's where I buy a lot of fins.
Yeah, okay,
Facebook
cool.
Marketplace, because it's, even if they've been used a little bit, they're still pretty good, Nick.
And that's what I mean. Like, you'll go out and get something. If you want it, you'll buy it from a shop. If it doesn't work, there's little loss in it. Someone else will want it. If you take care of them, they have a long life and stuff like that. So I think it's good having a few sets of fins. One board with two sets of fins can work really well in two sets of conditions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that groveler might be good in larger, better waves with a different setup. So it's really something for people to think about. Yeah.
I love it. I definitely want to try some different ones. I've been stuck with my performance for a while. I might try something else when I go on my trips. Let's talk about your YouTube channel a little bit. I think you've run it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
What was the original plan when you started, or did you just kind of jump into it?
So I can't take credit for everything. So I have, if people follow the surfboard review stuff, they might have come across a guy called Benny who does a thing called Compare Surfboards. Benny still has a channel. He regularly puts up a video. He's local to here, and he was a friend of a friend, and he's been doing it. One of his original videos might be like 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if he was the first one to do it, because Chris Grower, whatever his name is, did Shred Show, was pretty early on as well. But yeah, Benny was doing this. He'd just get on and talk about boards. He had a bit of a niche and stuff. But then he did other stuff that never took it too seriously. Then just 5 years ago, 5 and a bit years ago, he contacted me. He was a friend of a friend. He goes, hey, Craig, like, we'd met through parties and we're friends of friends. And he's like, would you be interested in being involved? Like, you speak fairly well. You speak the English language. He goes, you can surf okay. You understand boards more than most people. Would you be interested? So I got in touch with Benny and we got together. I had a few boards I had anyway. He goes, let's review them. And he was filming me surf. And what we did differently was that he never had any footage of him surfing. He just would get on and talk for 12 minutes about the board. And sometimes it was really good. And sometimes you might leave more confused than you went in there with. But and then I watched my first review with him just January gone. I just saw it clicked over on YouTube the other day because I was trying to work out who did a review first, me or Noel Salas, and it was me. So it was 5 years ago. And it was the Channel Islands MTF Altered. And I can barely look at the camera. I can barely speak. And there's about 8 waves of me at North Narrabeen surfing a right rip bowl junkie, doing a couple of turns. It's sweet. And then I did that with Benny for a while, and we had a really good deal that gave me kind of access to boards, like cheaper and easier than what I had before. He'd film me surf. It was a bit of fun. Benny has like a really good online store called Benny's Boardroom. It was good for me. But then it just over time, it kind of became more difficult. Like, I started having to film for me and different. I felt like I was kind of doing all the legwork. And then I was chatting with a friend of mine. He's like, why don't you just do it yourself? Like, you're doing it all. And so yeah, 2 years ago, just in January, so it's just clicked over 2 years ago, we started the Surfboard Guide. Yeah. We have a friend of mine.
What was the first review?
Channel Islands, Dane Reynolds 3D Bonza.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Which video has most views?
Slated Designs Cymatic.
Cymatic.
Yeah.
That was a big release when it came out because it looked quite different, right? I'm sure lots of people were curious about that.
And it was good. It was July of that year. I remember it got posted by the guy who I was doing it all with at the time, and I was in Palm Springs with my wife, and we've still not got a lot of traction. I think we're still pretty organic, and I like that we're still interacting with people who are genuinely interested in boards. Like, we don't just have people watching it for the sake of watching it. People are DMing me going, hey, should I buy a DHG DX1 or a Stacy blah, blah, blah? I'm going to get it today. Which one? Do you know what I mean? So actually, I think we are.
at the shop.
Yeah. It's funny actually. And I didn't realize my phone number was connected to one of the things. I was getting phone calls, but I took it off. But yeah, that was our biggest thing. But yeah, so I was with Benny, started doing it on my own. And then I had a friend that helped me with filming and all that sort of stuff, but it got really difficult. We both had young kids. We both had jobs and that. And, I guess I needed to film surfing when he wasn't available. And we kind of went our own ways with that. And then I've just done it over myself. So I have a friend of mine, Sam, who has a thing called You Surf, I Film. And I'll connect with him to film the surfing. But the rest of it I'll do in, thanks to Futures Australia, I'll use their studios and film the reviews out of their studios. And yeah, I do it mainly myself. Another guy, Tony Palmer, who's a photographer, lives in Freshwater. He'll shoot some photos and he's starting to do some video stuff for me. But yeah, it's still pretty organic, but I'm kind of at a crossroads now where I'm looking at other stuff, like a website and some other stuff that we spoke about. I won't go into too much. And
you're getting more and more serious.
Like it was good. I put out the other day the Fishbeard review, and Britt Merrick contacted me, which was really cool. Where I dealt with Channel Islands in Australia, and those guys have been absolutely awesome to me since day one. Britt was frothing. Like we're going to connect when we're up at Snapper for the CT event, and we're looking at doing a few different things, which I'm just trying to work out now. But trying to take the platform a little bit bigger, but still keep it like it's not about providing high performance surfing. I want people that the average surfer, which I said is probably 90% of the market. They're probably 100%. The one with the most disposable income. They're probably the ones that are purchasing boards to make sure they have fun surfs when they can go surfing, something they can relate to. So I guess if people want to get on there and have some YouTube comments online that aren't very positive, that's fine. The reviews aren't for them. Do you know what I mean?
That's YouTube for you. I got to ask that question though. What's some of the strangest and most annoying questions, comments you've been getting?
Yeah, they're not questions. I get a lot of dietary advice.
That is rude.
No, I think it's pretty funny. There's a guy that keeps popping up and he'll go, "Oh, your style is so stocky. You should eat lean, get rid of," he was trying to get me on a vegan diet, and he pops up every couple of months with the same comment. And I'm like, clearly don't know me, mate. I drink 3 IPAs every night. This does not help me. I eat pretty well. You have no idea. A few beers each night is my vice.
Do you respond to the comments?
Sometimes, yeah. It's good for the algorithm. But
it is. But YouTube comments in general isn't good for your brain, I think.
No, I don't mind, because I take none of it personally. Because even yesterday I was filming at Curl, and a guy came up to me and he was so appreciative of what we do. It doesn't cost him a cent, and it's helped him make board decisions for going on a trip. And I constantly I said that Cymatic review got lots of views, and not everyone bought a Cymatic, but I've had over the last 18 months I reckon 24 people, maybe more, come up to me and go, "Hey, I saw the Cymatic review. I didn't get a Cymatic, but you spoke about how the AM1 leading fins with the Hayden Shapes quad trailers was an amazing quad setup. I went out and bought both sets, and they have to be the best fin set I've ever ridden in any board as a quad." And I've had so many people come up from that. So I love that actually, I can, ultimately promoting and marketing a product, which is surfboards and surfboard fins. But I love it that people the people that get it, the people that want it, are appreciative of what they do. They know, there's no ego in it. I'm not trying to get out there and go, "Hey, mate, I rip. You should listen to me." It's actually quite the opposite. It's like, "Hey, mate, surf just like you, surf average waves, want to make sure you're having fun."
Yeah.
That's
you're helping people.
Well, trying to, yeah, a little bit. I see so many people on the wrong equipment. I don't know.
What's generally the biggest mistake? Is it back to what we said before with the...
I think a lot of stuff around sizing, and I think a lot of stuff around what people are buying. I think they're underestimating what they should be riding, but regularly, people buying lost drivers when they're very low surfability. It's like, you're not catching waves, you're not having fun. Just because, I don't know, who rides for Lost Taj? I don't know, someone's riding it doesn't mean it works for you, mate. And if people are enjoying themselves, stuff it. If that's how they want to surf and live and whatever.
They want to look cool on the beach when they carry the board.
Or if they're just if they're enjoying themselves in their head and they're having fun, and that's completely fine. But yeah, if people want to be, I guess, honest with themselves about their ability and all that sort of stuff, and make sure they're making informed decisions, because I'd like, through what we do, to better support surf shops. I think surf shops are kind of the core. While everything online is so amazing, let people have access. If I live in bloody Orange, I can buy a surfboard, but
where are you surfing?
I'd hate that online sales came to a point that, one day, Timmy in Aloha had to shut his doors. I don't have much to do with them, but I would like to have more to do with Tim at Aloha, other surf shops. I'd love
such a mad shop, and it's a big part of the community, right?
All shops. As a Grom, I used to just hang at shops. I did work experience there. I used to work there a bit on, it was everything. And
And I love going to shops and just browsing boards.
Yeah,
it's fun.
but I think sometimes shops might see what I do as, I guess, competition. I don't know why I don't sell anything, but I guess people have some apprehension about what I do. But all I'd like to do in that thing is I'd like people to go into Aloha and buy their board and have an informed decision already. Maybe just have to pick up the 511 or the 60 to work out sizing, but they're going in there knowing what they want. You know, saving Tim and his staff having to pull out 5 boards and do a 2.5 hour sale to someone. But also I remember, like I'm a bigger guy. I remember I walked in Aloha. Like I've known Tim, who owns Aloha, for people that know Aloha. I've known him for 20, 25 years or something like that. You know, I was in there one day, 2 people there I didn't know. It was about 15 years ago. I'm a heavier guy. I was heavier at the time. Actually, I'd stopped surfing for a long time. I put a lot of weight, but I could surf. And I remember a guy there trying to sell me a Weber Fat Burner, which is like this mini Mal thing that was like, I'm like, mate, beat it. Like I was looking at like a performance shortboard, which I could surf. And I felt a bit belittled. And do you know what I mean? And it was a poor experience. And I'd like people to have the information to go in the shops and be confident, know what they want. Just need help with sizing, because I think sizing is such a personal thing. I can't help you with sizing online. I think you really need to be picking up and having a good look at boards. I hope that what I can do can benefit surf shops, because I know with huge online retailers like Surf Stitch and stuff like that, it can be challenging for some of the smaller sort of surf shops out there, and there aren't as many as there used to be, which I think is sad.
I definitely never would order. Sorry to interrupt, but I would never order a board online unless I'd had felt that board on my arm. It's something different. Just go and have a look at it and just
talking crap with like surf shop.
It's so fun.
If the guys are cool and they're not trying to, I don't know, but I'd like to, and obviously surf shops, but shapers, like what goes into a surfboard to the retail price is ridiculous. Like there's not, I don't know, like. You know, your $900 shortboard actually should be like $1,400, to be honest. Like the markups, like they don't have massive markups on them. Oh no, this is what I'm trying to get. So like, you know, a t-shirt that retails for $50 at Surf Dive and Ski wholesales for $25 and costs about $3 to make. Yeah. You know, a surfboard that retails for, you know, $900 wholesales to that shop for like $7 something. Yeah. The markup percentages are tiny. Yeah. And then people want a leggy and a tail pad and all that stuff. Yeah. And there's really not much in it. So sometimes I wonder how these guys survive, you know, against it. So yeah, it's a funny one. I would love to do more with surf shops, that see value in what we're doing and how I can connect that to what they do. Yeah. Yeah.
If I had a surf shop, I'd run my own YouTube channel, really. Like
some do.
Some people have to, I think.
Yeah. But the thing with that, there's a guys in the UK. So Sandbar's a shop in Newcastle. They do it. Yeah. And the guy that does it or did it is a guy called Jesse Adams, and he surfs really, really well. Like he's I think he was like sponsored by Quicksilver. I've met him a couple of times, like just from being in that shop. Cool guy. But there's some guys in the UK that do it, and they talk about the board. But I think what we do, or what I do, which puts us aside from other online things like that, is there's footage of me surfing in the board. So I can't come on, and they're selling the board. So they're always going to say it's good. What are they going to say?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, we just got 10 Firewire Seasides in. They're rubbish. They go really bad. Don't buy one. So they're always going to talk it up. They do every model they ever get in. It's great. They're getting views. They probably monetize their things, you know, but... show us like a couple waves you're surfing it, mate. Like, I don't know. And I feel like that, and that's the hardest part, getting surf footage. Even the stuff I do is pretty lo-fi. I try and get a dozen waves each review. It's really hard.
Yeah, that's something. But that is just one thing you do really well.
1 or 2 turns. I'm not trying to like, you know, change anyone's day, but it's bloody hard. Like, you know, especially filming in Sydney. You know, if I had more time, like, you know, not full-time job and not, you know, a young family, I'd grab a filmer and go up to like Boomerang or something for like 3 days and just film like 10 boards or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
It would be sick. And I just, you know, it might come one day, but at the moment it's difficult. Even last week I was in WA and I tried to connect with a filmer to try and film some stuff there. And it was so hard. Yeah. And then last year I did some stuff in Indo. We did the Happy review and I got some footage of Uluwatu. Yeah. And I connected with a guy who I thought was a good filmer. I got the footage and it was like unusable. It was actually, it was very disheartening. But
that's frustrating.
It's hard.
Yeah. You got to keep doing that though. I know from my friends that are watching your channel, that's one of the things they really love. Yeah. Because you're a bigger guy. You have, like you said, kind of you're not a pro surfer. But so you're very relatable to people when they watch it. And that's huge. I think people underestimate that.
Yeah, and I guess the footage is honest. I can't go on and say the board's amazing when you see me bog 11 turns. And but with that as well, like I'm trying to now look at more maybe alternate equipment.
Yep.
So at the moment, I'm riding a 510 Jerry Lopez quad fish.
Oh, wow.
35.7 litres, and it's just a cruiser. But
Nice.
So I filmed a bit of that at Kilco yesterday on a right rip bowl and out the back on some bigger sets. And just look at, I don't think everyone wants to look at performance shortboards. So I'm keen to look at, I still want to sit with like that core stuff, but also broaden out a little bit. I think, like we say, the waves we're generally surfing most time pretty average, and you want boards that are fun. Twin fins are so popular right now for a reason. They're a lot of fun to surf. So I definitely want to start branching out with different kind of equipment. So yeah.
Awesome. So with that, I reckon we should end with, is there a board that you haven't reviewed yet that you'd love to review?
Yes. I've ridden pretty much every board in the world. Oh, no. Sorry. From the
main ones.
From the main shapers, I've ridden JSs, I've ridden CIs, I've ridden DHDs, I've ridden albums, I've ridden like everything big and small, like Sam Egan's as a kid, different things like that. Weber. I've never ridden a Pyzel.
Oh, really?
Never.
And we don't see too many Pyzels here. I know Aloha stocks them, but I haven't seen too many in the surf yet. And obviously a huge brand now with John Don.
Yeah.
Which model would you prefer to ride first?
I think the Ghost.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I don't know, or the Shadow, but I tried to connect with them and they wanted to charge me retail plus like 50%. They were very disinterested in I shouldn't say that, but
they already have a few good people on their paychecks.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was really keen. And I don't know, I see so many people with a Ghost. And it's more
here in Sydney?
Just everywhere.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a good wave board. But
I feel like it's a Hawaiian board.
Yeah, but it was kind of, I guess it was the starting point for that the Shadow and the Phantom and whatever those other scary monster names are for those boards.
Yeah.
And John, like shit, he's a new Dane. Like he's exciting. And I would love to check out something from Pyzel or one of those boards.
Well, it'll happen at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe not now, but anyway.
Get enough views on your YouTube channel, they can't deny you, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's quite hard, as you know. You deal with it a bit, trying to get people to view your stuff. Like I feel we have something there that's relatable to a lot of people, but how you get it broadcasted out to more people is actually quite challenging. It takes a long time.
Yeah, that's. I hate to say it this way, and I don't mean it negative, but 2 years is nothing. You've barely started, right? Like with YouTube.
It's also the time. Like my sister-in-law is a photographer. And she said she started a photography Instagram account about 4 or 5 years ago. And she went to bed and woke up with 10,000 followers. And she said to us, 5 years ago, it was much easier to create like a following on social media than it is now. And, she's watched me over the last 2 years with an Instagram account, built it up to, just over 6,000 followers. And she's like, it's actually, unless you're like Kanye West or something people are going looking for, it's actually quite amazing to be able to achieve that because in this time, and it's really quite difficult. Like
it's a lot of noise.
Instagram aren't putting you out in front of people like they used to 5 years ago. So anyway.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we can't wait to, I enjoy following your surfboard reviews and maybe one day we'll shoot something together as well.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Craig.
Thank you.